Unfiltered Talks. I'm really glad that you're here. I know I say it every week, but it's because I mean it. I'm really glad that you're tuning in to listen to what I have to say, and you don't have to. You don't have to do that. So I appreciate that you're here, and I appreciate the support. I have a microphone. Gonna be honest, because I always am. I have no idea what I'm doing. I have checked to make sure that it is actually recording, but I do believe it's picking up everything else, which was not the point. So yeah, I just keep hitting a lot of buttons. I have read the instructions. I have read through the booklet. I have done those things. I'm not like I have. I'm not an imbecile. But yeah, do you know it's even worse, I think, when there's only like 3 buttons and you're like, why the flip is this not working? It's like 3 buttons. How can I be getting this wrong? Like, it's like they're very clearly marked as well. Anyway, I hope it's a little bit clearer. I hope it's a little bit better. If nothing else, it looks really cool. I'm not gonna break into song though, because that would be painful for you all. Let's not do that. Let's not do that. Those days have passed. How are you doing? So last week I changed gears a little bit, and I did tell you guys that I was going to change gears for a couple of weeks, but here's the real tea, and here's the real truth. The real tea and the real truth is that I do not want to talk about 80s nostalgia. Yes, I love toys from the 80s. They bring me fun and laughter and good memories, and that's just another little facet of who we are as human beings. We have those nostalgia things, and I love all those things that I talked about last week. And I did say that I would talk about scents that I love, perfumes, oils, all those kind of things that I loved. But I've got to tell you, I finished putting that post out last week, that episode, and like, I bored myself preparing it. It's just the truth. I bored myself just doing it because I don't want to talk about them. It's not what this was about. It's not what this channel was about. The people that I live with, the people that I talk with, the things that I do, the things that I read, the things that I think about, that's what I want to talk about. That is it. That's what I want to talk about. So that is going to be abuse in religious institutions. It's going to be the fact that it's got to change, and that cover-ups have to stop. So that's what this channel is. If you're listening to this is what you're going to get. I'm not sugarcoating anything anymore. I didn't at the start, and I'm not going to start now trying to do it. I'm trying to find my feet here on YouTube, but I know what I want to talk about, and that is the stuff that I started out talking about. It's the story that I have, and it's the one that I have kept so quiet about for 10 years specifically, but for many years before that, there was so much stuff that I kept so quiet about. So we're done with the nostalgia. We're done with talking about anything that really is not the main reason for this channel. Anyway, so that being said, we are hitting those gears back up, and we are going to talk about a couple of things today that that I had sent to me in the last week by a brilliant friend back home, and I'm really, really honoured that I get to walk with her through this season of life, because there's a lot of people don't want to walk with the hurting or the broken, or the ones that make their life feel a little bit uncomfortable. And that's really what I'm going to talk about a little bit today, because the 2 articles that were sent to me talk about that very thing. They talk about how people who surround people who have been abused, who have been, whether it's spiritual abuse, SA, DV, whether it's like emotional abuse, that manipulation, that control, the coercive control, people that are in and around this fear, it's a good word, that's fear. It makes them really uncomfortable because they have an idea of who a person is. And when you come to them or you confide, and it is a confide because you don't go around telling everybody. Very few people knew my story. What most victims of these kind of things do is they just disappear. Like 1 minute they're there, the next minute they're not. And if they're able to manage to escape the institution that they leave without some kind of damage to their reputation coming from that institution, then that's brilliant. But very few do, because it's a tactic that they use to cover their own asses, and that's just the truth. They need to cover their backside whenever somebody leaves, especially somebody or a family that have been quite prominent, or they may have seen them more regularly than they would see other people in the church. So they've got to figure out a way to cover their asses, and they do. They normally do. So it makes people really uncomfortable when you have to talk about the things and about the people that they believe that they have an idea of, or that they think they know, or that they don't want to accept that maybe they were wrong about somebody. Ironically, in my case, people were right. It was me that was always wrong. I gave the benefit of the doubt for way too long. But those are the kind of things that I want to talk about today, because I'm not going to say it's easy. It's not easy for anyone to hear that maybe somebody that has been abused in the place that you still are, but they don't want to look like they were wrong about the person or the abuser. So they downplay it, they use words that make it small, and they carry on with their life as they know it, because this is their life, and they don't want to blow their lives up. Nobody wants to blow their life up. That's just fact. Nobody wants to blow their life up from what they've always known, because a lot of the times, especially in these places, you've given so much of your life to these institutions, that that if you are to side with the wrong person in this scenario, that it's going to change your life and make it a little bit uncomfortable, and most people don't want to do it. There's so many things go through my head sometimes when I'm doing this I was going to say podcast, it sort of is, but you gotta look at me. And what often happens is I have to look inwardly. I say some things and automatically I have this thought in my mind: did you ever do that, Trudy? Did you hear of abuse? And I'm going to, I absolutely must have over times, and I didn't do what I should have done. Because I didn't want to blow my life up, and that's the honest truth. And I am so sorry about it. And if I can't think of specifics other than I would have heard conversation, I would have heard about families that have left, or I would have heard stories of things like that, and thought, well, they're they don't want to be here, they're going somewhere else, they're still the people that they've always been. You don't suddenly turn on them. That was never me. I did not do the shunning. As far as I know or remember, if I did, I'm really sorry. But I also remember thinking to myself, they're just a family going somewhere else. Big flipping whip. If they love Jesus and they wanna go somewhere else, then so. So that was kind of my kind of thought system on that. But absolutely, if I did that, and if anybody feels like I ever did that, I'm genuinely sorry about that, because I would never I would never have wanted anybody to feel like just because they left a cult that I don't talk to them anymore. I always find that really strange. But we are going to talk about what it's like to be the person who has been abused and to have to deal with people who don't know what to do with it. For the general kind of public, the people that you would have been talking to, that you knew for years, maybe older people, there's just this sense of 1 minute you're there and the next minute that you're gone. And maybe it hurts them. Maybe they're wondering, just, oh, where did she go? Like, I genuinely loved her. I loved talking to her. And that's the really sad thing, maybe for them, but definitely for the person that has to leave, because you've got this sense of they're going to get older. There may be people that you really genuinely loved and loved having a conversation with, but you're not going to see out their life because you can't. And it's all these extra sides of the abuse and the bullying and the life-altering consequences of that taking place, and that being something that you experience in your life. And it never stops being sad, because you still think about those people and you wonder, are they still okay? And there's nothing you can do about it. So all the extra little bits that come along from this kind of reality for victims. And listen, I hate the word victim. Like, I genuinely hate the word victim. I always have. I never felt like I lived in a victim mentality. And I was adamant that I was not a victim, like, because to say you're a victim, there's like this sense of that you being naive and not strong, and all of those things, all the things that I never wanted to be. I grew up in a particular way, and it's a story that I'm not going to share on here, because, and again, I didn't talk about it a whole lot in my life, because it's not just my story. So I don't talk about it, because it's not fair to anyone else who experienced the life that I did. But I'll say this: the life as a child and growing up that I experienced made me a certain way. So it made me somebody who was, I thought, strong. It made me somebody who didn't take crap from anybody, and that's genuine, because I didn't take crap in my house, so I wasn't going to take crap from randomers. I wasn't going to take crap from anybody, and I didn't. Through my teenage years, like, I'm a lover, not a fighter. Okay, I do not seek out fights. I definitely do not seek out confrontation, basically from the way that I grew up. Nobody goes looking for confrontation. If you do, get your head checked, because there's something wrong with you. Nobody wants confrontation in their life. So I avoided it. But you can't avoid confrontation at all times. You cannot avoid confrontation. And as a teenager in the high school, Donaghadee High, it's not a wee soft school. It was never a wee soft school. And you had your millies, but I didn't take crap from anyone. I didn't start fights, but I didn't back down from them. And that's from the way that I grew up. I just learned to do that. I learned to protect myself. I learned to do that. But what then happens is that you walk into a building that is based on a rhetoric or a set of rules, like meekness, mildness, be like Jesus. What you mean, the Jesus that overturned tables in a temple? Kicked off that Jesus. that Jesus, or the one who's meek and mild and forgiving and is kind all the time, who, this is the rhetoric that you start to come into, and that you want to be pleasing to God, and that you read your Bible, and you want to be kind and loving the world and know you because of how you love each other. Okay, all that kind of stuff sticks and stuck in my head. It was so important to me that I would be like the Bible said. Not for any other reason other than I wanted to be pleasing to God. So, and I've said this quite a few times to my husband, especially after we left the place that we left. It was almost like I walked into this building, and I may have mentioned this before, I can't remember, because it's a big thing for me. It was like I walked into the building that became a boxing ring, and I had opponent after opponent, but that they tied my hands behind my back. And the Trudy that had always went, no, no, I'm not going to take your disrespect. I'm not going to take you saying that. That person became someone so full of rhetoric and what was expected of me, and you be the bigger person. I got that a lot. These people are what they are, but you can be the bigger person because you're more evolved. You're the person that can say, I don't need to be like you. I can be forgiving and kind, and we can move past this. No, sometimes somebody just needs decked, and I don't mean that in a physical way, maybe. Sometimes somebody just needs decked, but I never did that. I did what I was supposed to do. I tried to live the way I was supposed to live, and just imagine that image, being put into a boxing ring. You've got an opponent in front of you. They don't have their hands tied because they don't care. They don't care about pleasing God. They don't care about those things. Their hands are tied, and they just keep giving you a punch in the beak, and you have to take it because you can't, you literally cannot. And it's the best way that I can describe what happens when you're somebody who wants to be loved, who wants to please. I really enjoyed just doing nice things for people and being kind. I enjoyed doing that, but I didn't do it so that I would feel good. I just liked doing it. It wasn't rocket science. I like to help. I like to serve. There's your Christianese word. I like to do those things, not for any other reason than I just like to do them. But basically what I'm saying is I just liked being kind to people and making people smile. That literally was it. And if I had a gift or a talent or the ability to do that, then I wanted to do that. And I used every single ounce of myself, and I gave every single ounce of myself to an institution that abused that. Okay, so here you're going to hear the word extort. It's not the word that I meant. My perimenopausal brain kicked in, and I used the wrong word. So the word that I'm actually looking for is exploitation. So anytime you hear extortion, I clearly mean exploit. But anyway, yeah, just said thank you, bye. And extorted that, and that's a word that churches really don't want to hear it, because they're really telling you that what you're doing is that you're serving. But I can look back on my life and think there was such extortion of who I was as a person. There was extortion of my voice, because I used to sing a little bit. And what was always strange to me was that I never enjoyed it. I never enjoyed singing. And I knew people that sung everywhere, and no matter where they were singing in the shower, they were singing in the car. Didn't mean that to rhyme. They enjoyed singing. It was something that they did for fun. But I never did. I I did it, like everything else, as a means to an end, to hopefully bring people to God. So there was this sense that you have this anointing, like, on your voice, like that's even a thing. It's just a voice. There's so many people that in the Christian music industry that will have had that said to them over years, people like Michael Tate. So really there's a question of what it was. Was it just a good voice, or was there anointing from God? And I genuinely can't look at the thought of Michael Tate and suggest that it was anointing on a life that was what his life was. It's confusing. It's all very confusing, but I'm going to say this. I did it because it was something that I was really good at. And I didn't do it because I enjoyed it. I did it because I could. I think that's it. I did it because I could. I don't miss it. I don't miss singing whatsoever. I haven't sung. When I say sung, I haven't sung in like an environment where other people are there in, well, probably 10 years. And doesn't even cross my mind that I miss it. Doesn't cross my mind. Not interested. Because it felt like extortion. It never felt like something that was a gift. That's the best way to put it. But you're given talents by God, and if you don't use the talents that God gives you, then he takes them away. Did you know that? He hasn't taken it away, I don't think. I still can sing. I just don't. I did want to talk about something different today, and I started out that we'd talk about it, but I'm going to take that into another episode after my friend has been here. Sometimes I go off on a tangent and I think to myself, okay, it was maybe a tangent, but maybe just it needed to be said. I think one of the things that I talk to my husband a lot about at the minute is, and this is really real and honest, the fact of the matter is my relationship with God is non-existent, but yet there's stuff that's inside you that is it's unavoidable. It's probably the best way to put it. I don't trust God, and basically, that's the crux of the issue with me. I don't trust him. I don't find him to be a safe place, because safety just became nothing that was connected for me. But in making this channel and talking about what took place with me and how I've got to the place that I'm in, I do hope that what it does is it gives people a place where they don't feel so lonely, because although a lot more people are talking and speaking out about abuse that they've suffered at the hands of institutions in Northern Ireland, in Ireland, in America, in Australia, all over the world, people are speaking out about what they have faced and the abuse and the damage that it does to them as people and their relationship with God. I didn't have that. It was 10 years ago, and if the same thing happened to me now that happened 10 years ago, it would look really, really different. My reaction would be very different, and the steps that I took would be very, very different to what I was able to do back then, because that was not what I would do nowadays. But I also didn't have anyone to talk to or turn to, and a big part of what happens is that you internalize everything, and I did, and you really you really start to dislike yourself, because you can't understand why people can be so cruel. So you start to think it must be me. There must be something really, really bad and wrong with me. And that, I think that's a natural thinking pattern when you're talking about something happening to you, that's ongoing, like it's constant. You can't help but start to think that maybe there must be something wrong with me. What am I doing? What am I doing that is so bad and so wrong? And you can't work it out, because you're asking it, what have I done? What have I done other than come home? And nobody had an answer for it, because that was all that for my situation, that's literally all I'd done. I'd come home. I'd returned to what I thought was my safe place in my home. So I had no one to talk to. I had no one to, I didn't know what spiritual abuse was. I knew what bullying was. I didn't know what coercive control was. I didn't know what love bombing, gaslighting, manipulation. I knew what manipulation was, but you're not going to find that in a church, surely. People aren't manipulating you in the church. Don't be ridiculous. Don't be so silly. Yeah, they do. I didn't for a moment think that those things had ever happened to me. Wow, I'm not a victim. My goodness. I grew up tough. I grew up not taking crap from anyone. How could I possibly have taken crap for 20 odd years? Ending with a situation like it did. Like that, there's no flipping way. I'm not a victim. I don't take the title victim well until 5 years after you have left the institution. It all hits you, and fresh again, you're realizing just how much abuse you experienced that you didn't even realize was abuse. And that's one of the things with other survivors. Let's say survivors, because it really is, a lot of it is, you can't still believe that you're here, because and I've said this before, I'm still here. I'm surprised I'm still here, because the pain was so intense that I'm just surprised that I'm still here. Let's just put it like that. It's lonely to go through that yourself. And so if this silly little channel, the silly little crazy woman who just speaks her mind every week, helps anyone to feel less alone, or helps them to understand the emotions that are going on, or the emotions that they cannot get their head around, then I'm really glad that I am doing this every week, because there's nothing worse than feeling lonely. There's nothing worse than not knowing where to turn when all your safe places have been blown to smithereens. And yeah, that's kind of what I hope for this channel, that people will find a place that maybe put some words to how they're feeling, because I didn't have anyone to put words to it for me. And yeah, I started out by saying that what you know of God, or the things of God that you've learned over many years, or maybe those moments when you really felt like God was there for you, they kind of stick in there. And I hate the word ministry now, because it feels like a extortion of your person. Genuinely, that's what it feels like. It feels like the word used to extort people and their gifts and their talents and their abilities and all the things that make them who they are. So I'm not going to use the word ministry. I'm going to use the word advocate because I like it better. But if this allows me to be an advocate for people, then I'm really happy to do it. Really, really happy to do it, because it took me 10 years to be able to talk about it. And even now it's uncomfortable. It's not something that you don't grow up hoping that you're going to be able to tell your story of abuse. That's the best way to put it. You don't grow up thinking, by the time I am 46, I really hope that I've got stories of how abused I was and how it absolutely destroyed my person and that I had to rebuild my life from scratch again, little brick by little brick. We're not talking Duplo, we're talking like the tiny Lego. That's what I had to build with again. And that's so flippin' tiring. Like, do you know how tiring it is to have to build your life up again? Most won't know what that feels like, but it's tiring. You're exhausted every day. You're exhausted that you've got to build again because everything is gone. But you do, and that's the gist of what happens. And again, it's just a little tiny bit, that tiny moment of what happens when abuse happens and the people that have the opportunity to do the right thing do not do the right thing, and they cover it up. Sometimes you just want to go, you've one job. You had one job. And your one job was to do the right thing. Your one job was to protect the vulnerable. And no matter what it would have made you look like, and in fact, actually, it would have made you look really good. In all the scenarios that I think about and all the abuse cases that I see, there is nothing that gives me the feeling of more respect for people than when pastors, leaders, elders stand up with a genuine heart, because there's plenty that get up and they bolster and they want to tell you about all the good things they've done up to this point. This is a little blip that this has happened, but let me just remind you of how good we are, and then let me apologize. I don't mean that. I mean the people that sit down without a stage under their feet and they say, I played a part in this. And the part I played is that I didn't do what I was supposed to do. I covered this up. I covered it up. And maybe in some cases I made it look like they were the ones at fault. I made it look like because they came back that they were the ones at fault. Not the abuse that took place. I have respect for those people that get up and they say, this is shameful. What happened to these kids or these women is shameful, and we're ashamed. We're ashamed that this happened in here on our watch. And we're not going to let it continue, and we're going to tell you that we have made mistakes. We've done it wrong. We should have done better. We should have done better, and we should have come alongside the broken and the battered and the destroyed and done everything that we could to be Jesus and a healing balm to them, and we didn't. I have respect for those people. I have absolutely no respect for the people who do everything that they can to cover up abuse, who, when it's taken to the highest places that they can take it, still will not acknowledge their fault in it. They will not acknowledge that They want their institution to be better. They want their institution to be a place of refuge for the broken. You cannot say that you're a place for the broken and the marginalised when you can't acknowledge your part in creating those environments. You just can't. Times are changing. Like we're not living in a place anymore where you can get away with it, that you can pretend that you can't remember what happened, because really you'll answer to God for that one, and shame on anyone who ever says that, because we can all remember. Yeah, I have no respect for those people who will not acknowledge their hand in the abuse and say that they're going to do better and then do better. That, like, it's like I genuinely don't understand why they can't see that they would look so much better. Like it's not rocket science. Like, coming forward and saying, I am gonna, like, we've genuinely messed this up. We've got this so wrong. We should have sorted this 30 years ago and we didn't. We should have sorted this 10 years ago and we didn't. We should have sorted this 4 years ago and we didn't. And see if there's lots of those scenarios. Good flippin' gracious. If there's lots of those scenarios connected to you or your institution, good. Seriously. How many more do you reckon that you need? How many more do you need before there's an overhaul of titanic proportions? Shame. Shame, shame, shame. I lived with plenty of shame all my life. Over nothing. This deserves shame. This deserves being called out. Talking about this stuff is crap. There's nothing fun about it. There's nothing good about it. I don't look forward to making these episodes every week. I like making content. But probably the best bit is that you actually just sit down and you can add funny things, and there's not a lot of funny being added to this one this week. I'm so sorry. There is not a lot of funny being added to this. Anyway, I think maybe we should just pause for this week. I'm really excited and glad that you have tuned in to my rantings. I'm going to keep talking, and I'm going to keep talking for the people who aren't ready to talk. I'm going to keep talking for the people that will never be ready to talk because they are destroyed, or even worse, they aren't here anymore. Oh man, whenever you do those Myers-Briggs tests and you realise that you are the advocate, you just don't know where it's going to take you, right? You just don't know where it's going to take you. But for now, it is going to take me to get my lunch. Anyway, I'm going to go. Thank you so much for tuning in to Trudy Talks. I will catch up with you again next week, hopefully with my very fun guest. But until then, have a great week. Let's talk again next week. Bye.